Well, good morning, and I'm very excited to be here with Sharon Zinke, who's going to be telling us about Rime Magic in just a minute. She is kindred spirits, I think, with Tim Rosinski and some of the other things that we've talked about with Tim. And I'm going to let her take things over here in just a second. And I've got several questions I want to be asking. And I'm going to start with this one. Sharon, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, personal and professional, and then we'll take things from there.
Okay, great to be with you, Dr. Sam. I guess I'm always afraid to say this, but I've been teaching for over 5 decades. So I've spent many years teaching in the classroom, as a reading specialist, as a resource specialist, and I just think that the biggest thing for me, the most important thing for me, is that our children learn to read with ease and with dignity. And so my whole life has been about that, and having power over their own learning. And Rime Magic is the way I've figured out to make that happen. I'm married. I've got one son. I'm living in Oakland, California. I spend all my time, especially I was flying around the country working with people, with teachers, but the pandemic shut me down into my dining room table with my 2 kittens on each side. So now I'm doing all my trainings mostly on Zoom, except in the Bay Area. So I guess I could say just a bit about how how Rime Magic came to be.
I'd love to hear about that. Yes.
Okay. My last teaching was in Hayward, California, and I was teaching special ed. I was a resource specialist, and I had K through 6th grade. And I had 5th and 6th graders who were reading at 1st and 2nd grade level because of low word recognition. And I was just experimenting with things. I think good teaching is experimenting to see what works. And so I just suddenly, something just started to work, and my 6th graders caught up before they went to middle school, which seemed like a miracle at the time. And soon after that, I went to King Middle School in Berkeley, and I had 24 students on my resource specialist caseload, and half of them were reading at 1st and 2nd grade level because of their low word recognition. Some of them couldn't read frog and toad. So I fine-tuned it with them, and then everybody said, you've got to write a book, because they all caught up to at least 5th grade level, which is something that, you can live through high school at that level. So anyway, that's kind of how that happened. Everybody, and
Okay.
that's what happened.
Well, I'm going to use that write a book as a segue. Pardon me if the technology goes crazy here, but let's see if I can make this work or not. There we go. This was the book, and I did find it on Prime, and I'll put a link to it. I don't know because you're going to explain this in a minute. This is no longer the go-to stores, but I've got this one's coming to my house on Sunday to give me an idea of what it's all about. The Decoding Solution by Sharon Zinke. But there's more to it now than this. But I just wanted to take a moment to tell. I will give everyone the link that I used to get it on Prime, if they're interested in just getting a quick overview of things. All right, that said, let's use that as a segue into the next thing is you've kind of told us how you created Rime Magic. So I'm now interested in doing a site visit. let's see if we can make the technology do that or not. Once again, I'm on share screen and whoops. Please. Okay, I'm going to go off. Just indulge me here for a moment. Don't you love technology? Don't answer that question. Okay. Oh dear. This seemed like such a good idea. There we go. There we go. There we go. We're going to go try to get into your folder. And here we go. Here we are. Now I'm there. I haven't shared the screen yet. Let's handle that. Okay. I'm making a total mess of things here.
I can just describe the website.
Well, I'm there now though. I'm
Okay.
finally ready to do it. Yay, share screen. And here we go. Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
Okay. There we go. All right. So tell me what to do here.
Well, I basically the website just describes somewhat how Rime Magic works, and then there are also you can scroll down to this is a video of a study that was done about Rime Magic in the Fowler Unified School District in California, and the Cradle to Career of Fresno County sponsored that study, and then they made this movie, which is about 2 minutes long, about what happened at that school. And then we did a middle school, and we also did the juvenile hall. We did a study in the juvenile hall that was crazy. And if you look on there's a section of this is me doing a 45-minute training for Rime Magic so that people around the planet can see how to do it. And you can actually go to, if you click on the Scholastic down there, you can go to the Scholastic website to get the kit. But there's a section on research on the website, and under the Rime Magic research, you can get some informal studies, and then also the formal study of the juvenile hall and the two schools in Fowler. You can see those.
Okay.
There's also a section of testimonials, and the other thing that you can do from the website, and there's also a section of lots of videos, which you can also see lots of videos on my YouTube channel. Yeah.
And I'll make it a point to have a link to both this site and to your YouTube channel in the written part of the blog.
Okay, that's great. One other thing is that I do a free 1 hour every Thursday for any teacher anywhere who wants to be with me for an hour to learn more about Rime Magic, have me demonstrate or ask questions or plan or anything that they want, and that you can register for that on the website.
Okay. Wow. Like one-stop shopping. Okay, well, I'm glad we did this. And that's okay. So we've stopped the screen share. And now let's get into the topic. It's sounding like on your website, you've got a lot of things that say, hey, this really works. Okay. And what I love the most about it is that it's created by a teacher with real kids, and created kind of in the in the field. Okay, no just a very pragmatic way of going about things. So can you tell me a little bit about why you think all this is working so well? And it really looks like it's working very well. And anything about how, any remarks you might have about gradual release or things like that, but most especially, why does this work?
Yeah, I I mean, when teachers try this in their classrooms, they're kind of stunned because they've never seen anything work this well. And I think the reason that that's true is because it's a completely different approach to phonics instruction. It's not about memorizing letters and sounds in a particular sequence by a publishing company. It's not about today we're going to start with short A and then short E or in any kind of a sequence. Rime Magic instead is about immersion. It's immersion. So what happens is in most of these phonics programs that are very intensive, you're teaching something that whether the kids are ready for it or not, whether they need it or not, you're introducing it to the whole class. And some don't need it, some aren't ready for it. So what Rime Magic does is we immerse them in all of it every day for 5 minutes. It's just immersion in all the letter sounds, all of the blends, all of it for 5 minutes. And they take what they need from it. They get what they're ready to get when they're ready to get it, if that makes sense. It's really scaffolded. So, for example, we say and then I say, I wonder if we could spell scrubbing, and then I have them guess which one of these endings would be at the end of scrubbing. One of the things that makes it work is that there's never a negative response ever. It's all positive. So if they say this one, then I tell teachers to nod and say something positive and then tell them what it would be. That would be scrubbus. Very good guess. Who else has an idea? And then as soon as somebody says this one, we spell it and it's scaffolded. I use my fingers as the onset, the extra letter right here, and the ending right here. And so they're actually, spelling it with where they have to focus on the rhyme, and the rest of it they have to figure out. It just goes so fast. We have kindergartners who have mastered the entire steps 4 and 5 before they go to first grade. So, there's a few other things that make it work. One thing is, I think, I talk to teachers a lot about the granting being, talking straight to them and not just delivering curriculum. I think that's a big piece of it. And then we pair it with what I call to, with, by, and that's where the gradual release of responsibility comes in. And that's where Tim Rosinsky and I are kind of up to the same thing. To, with, by just means, they need to be reading independently every day, right? They need to be reading, with the teacher at their instructional level every day in some way. But they also need frustration level material. They need to be reading something that they want to be able to read that is out of reach. So I'll give you an example of that. I had 2 5th graders who were literally reading at first grade level, and neither one of them could read Frog and Toad. That's a great benchmark for me. They couldn't read Frog and Toad independently. And I said, what do you wish you could read? And they both said Harry Potter. So imagine the difference. And I said, okay, because I had the book. So I just did a paragraph at a time with them. 3 weeks later, they read the entire first chapter of Harry Potter to the principal. And so their confidence just went right through the roof. And they just chased me down. These were fifth graders, and they wanted to miss their recess and do the Rime Magic cards and read Harry Potter. So to with by just means I read it to them as many times as they want, with them in unison as many times as they want, leave all the power up to them when we switch from one thing to another. And then it becomes predictable. They know the vocabulary that's coming. It just becomes very predictable. And then they read it with a partner, or they read it, by themselves. So the combination of Rime Magic and Two with By, or any of Tim Rzinski's wonderful strategies, that's why he and I are going to do a webinar together for ILA, because we just know that this dovetails so well together. I could teach anybody to read with just all of his stuff and Rime Magic.
Okay. Well, that's a perfect segue into the last thing. But before I get into the last thing, I'll get on my soapbox for just a moment, because what you have described here is really a discovery way of learning, an inquiry way of learning, and as opposed to a direct teaching way of learning. And I've on many occasions pointed out, folks, there are the direct teaching, Aristotle, 2,000 years ago. Folks, inquiry, Socrates, 2,000 years ago. Folks, those two things have coexisted for the whole 2,000 years. One has not ever replaced the other. I don't expect one will ever replace the other. You need both. And Tim, I think, has come up with a brilliant idea of artfully teaching. And, so in this case, this is the art of teaching. So I'm going to ask your last thoughts about Tim and all of his work and how the two dovetail. But before I do that, I know there's a school there that's doing both, and I'd like to hear about that. And also, I'd like your thoughts about, you're not asking, part of what you told me in the pre-interview is that this is something that could be used in addition to, not instead of. This is a supplement. This isn't the main phonics program. So you could use this as a supplement to anything. So with that segue, talk about how this could be used as a supplement to anything. Talk about some of the other things you and Tim are doing, are about to do, and just how some of my teachers out there could use some of this stuff on Monday, and I know they could.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I tell teachers to keep doing what's working for them. Just keep doing what they're required to do. And then slip this in next to it for 5 to 10 minutes and watch what happens. There's a district, the Talawanda School District in Ohio, is really taking it on. And they've been doing a combination of Rime Magic and Tim Rzinski's strategies. And their district is requiring them to do Orton Gillingham and Haggerty. And so they're doing all of those things. And they're doing parts of Orton Gillingham, and they're doing some Haggerty, but they're also slipping in Rime Magic next to it. And they're getting amazing results. They're just kind of shocked, and they email me all the time saying, wait till you hear this. So it's very fun. And there's Kathy James, who has kind of been the, behind all of that, as she was the literacy coordinator in the district. Now she's teaching. She decided to dive into a first grade classroom, and she has written a blog about it to put on Tim Rzinski's website. And I'm going to be sending that to Dr. Sam so he can publish that on his in his website too.
Okay, well, and I'll make it a link, and I'm hoping that maybe I can talk to some of those people at that site at some point in time. So this has been amazing. Okay, so what we have here is a good supplement. inquiry-based, effective, created by a teacher, works with Tim's stuff. And you know, the combination of the two can be something really powerful. So what great ideas. My mind is just bubbling right now with all kinds of things. So now's the point in time when I just say, it's the last question is, did we leave anything really important out? And if we did, talk about that now. And
Yeah.
if
Yeah. I think one thing is that what really makes the difference with Rime Magic is it gives them access to the internal structure of words. And I've been lately, I've been taking a look at like David Kilpatrick's work. And that's what he's talking about, is unitizing letter strings, having everything be unitized. Onset, rhyme, extra letter, ending, another ending. And when kids can, instead of trying to make their way through a word from the beginning to the end, which in English can be difficult, if they go straight to that magic rhyme, because the next step after the finger thing is, where's the rhyme? And they get really good at finding the at and then reading the word, and it just breaks the whole thing open. So access to the internal structure of words is, I think, a really important thing. It's based on Camborne's 7 conditions, if you're familiar with that.
I've talked to him. Yes, I'm quite.
Yeah. And, it's immersion. His 7 conditions. It's immersion, it's a demonstration, it's making closer and closer approximations, it's a positive response, responsibility, it's like all about their choice. So I just think it's really important that I don't know, it's just important to me that we give some of that power back to the students, and they're more in charge. If they make the decisions of when to go from the to the with to the by, they take what they need from your immersion every day of all of the letter sounds, all the blends, all the endings. They see all of it every day and they get what they're ready for. So you've got a first grader that's still looking out the window, not ready to look at letters, and they get swept up. I'm sorry, there's a little duck chirping down here because of my cats. They get swept up in it. The kids who aren't ready for it, they get kind of swept up in it, and they listen to the other ones answering the questions, and pretty soon their hand is up and they want to participate. The last thing I'll say is that kids that are in middle school and high school and still reading at 1st and 2nd grade or below 3rd grade level, they can catch up really fast, like those juvenile hall kids. So it's in middle schools and high schools all over the country, and they get caught up really fast. And they're so excited because schools will invite me in to say, we can't do anything with this child. And that's what I love, because I say, bring me the ones you don't know what to do with. And all of a sudden the kids are like,
I love it. Okay,
so
well, what a delightful conversation this has been. Tons of insights. I'm glad that this is not something that's trying to replace anything. This is something that's trying to supplement things. Yeah. And this is something that brings both Aristotle and Socrates into the text. We're going to use both. And boy, does that appeal to a centrist like myself, using both. Well, now that's kind of everything except for one last tradition on a Bomarito interview that you may or may not be familiar with. And that is, we end with a Zoom wave goodbye. So in just a minute, we get the big smiles on our face, and we're going to give our audience a nice wave goodbye. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much. And this has been very informative.